an incredibly important state there. And in fact, in 2020, Ziyanda, a state that has quite a big Black or African-American population, really swaying that vote in 2020.
Absolutely, just a 1 percentage point difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump in 2020. And where we are, which is outside the Metropolitan Library here in Georgia, this is one of the voting stations, and the demographic is by and large African Americans and a slightly older population. Of course, it's still quite early, it's 12 noon our time here, but absolutely starting off at Full County, where we had a briefing from electoral officials there. By and large, all voting stations opened up without a glitch, but a few bomb threats at a few of the voting stations. They had to quickly be closed down and then swiftly reopened. But currently, as it stands, all the voting stations are open. It reminded me of just how much security had to be deployed in KwaZulu-Natal for our general election, Naledi, because of the fears after the 2021 civil unrest. A similar kind of sentiment is being felt here. Of course, you'll remember the January 6th insurrection, and this is why then the vote counting issue and how that's communicated is very important, especially here in Georgia, where Donald Trump lost by nearly 12,000 votes. So I want to bring in the former Atlanta Mayor, Shirley Franklin. Your term was, of course, between 2002 and 2010, but historically, an historic thing. You were the first Black female mayor here in Atlanta. We talk about that moment and we compare it with what might be happening with Kamala Harris.
Well, we're really very excited. Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, is qualified. She's run an excellent campaign, and I think the United States is ready for a woman president.
But there's been lots of talk about how some in the African-American community may not necessarily like Kamala, but she's the better devil than Donald Trump. Is that the sense that you get?
Oh, no, absolutely not. The African-American community and many women from all backgrounds are very, very excited. And we can't discount the men. This is a close election, according to the polls, but we are expecting a winning election for the vice president, largely because she is the right person for the right time. She has the experience at the local level, the state level, in the Congress, and as vice president, she is by far the most qualified candidate. And we are pretty well organized. As you have mentioned, there have been great precautions taken to make sure that the election is fair in Georgia, that it's transparent, and we expect that things will go off without a major hitch. And according to our Secretary of State, we are going to get election results this evening.
Yeah, we also heard the same thing, and that's very important given what happened in 2020, but also, I mean, Donald Trump speaking about how, there may be more time needed. What is that? Almost setting up an environment for creating a sense that there's going to be electoral fraud. How do you deal with that as someone who was also once at the helm leading Atlanta as the mayor?
Well, you tell the truth. And the truth is, all of the election offices are open. We've had record turnout, which says that people in Georgia are ready to vote. They've made up their minds. And we have very strong support across the state. Kamala Harris has run an amazing campaign in less than 100 days. But that speaks to her character. It speaks to her experience, and it speaks to her ability to galvanize the country to move forward and leave the past behind us.
When you assess the mood here, are you concerned at all that if, for an example, Kamala Harris does not win here in Georgia or the election, that there might be any kind of eventuality? I mean, we heard there were already bomb threats this morning at some of the voting stations.
Well, I mean, certainly as a former elected official, we're always concerned. We're always concerned about what could go wrong. But what we've demonstrated is things are going right. We are organized from the state level to the county level, to the county board level, and to the court standing up for fair elections. So we are convinced, I am convinced, that we will have fair elections, and I'm convinced that we will be successful.
Let's talk about the process, because we know that, firstly, the early voting, those ballots are only being opened today, but also in today's process, you vote and you put it into the machine, so it will definitely be counted, right?
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, you put your vote, it's confirmed. I actually confirmed that my vote was received. I voted on October 15th. I went on the website. I know that my vote has been counted and will be counted. There are all sorts of precautions that are taken to be sure that every vote is counted and that the election is fair. Several of us former officials, the former Governor Barnes, the former Governor Deal, the former Senator Saxby Chambliss, that's a bipartisan group, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. We have been speaking up on the issue of voter integrity and voter fairness, and we've been calling balls and strikes. When we see something that is wrong, we speak up. When we see what's going forward well, we also speak up. So there is bipartisan support for fair elections in Georgia and in all over the United States. We're not the only ones. We recognize that the eyes of the world are on us, and we also recognize that our future depends on a strong democracy where people are respected and the dignity of the vote is respected. The obligation to vote is respected, and we feel really good.
12,000 missing votes, Donald Trump called it in 2020. I mean, a court ruled that he did try to interfere to try and overturn that electoral outcome. Are you expecting more of the same?
Well, I mean, if you take the former president at his word, he is already questioning the validity of the election, but he is an exception. Americans believe in democracy. They believe in representative government. The vast majority of Americans. I'm not here to bash him. I'm here to promote what I believe is the best candidate for the country as the president.
All right, that's Shirley Franklin. She is the former mayor here in Atlanta between 2002 and 2010. And of course, she was the first black woman to become mayor here in Atlanta, vouching for Kamala Harris to become the first woman president here in the United States. Neck and neck, you heard her speaking about the mood here, but she's confident that beyond the polls and what they are saying, that the people of Georgia will vote for Kamala Harris, and they are hoping, cautiously optimistic, she says, for a decisive victory.